Does anyone have a question?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
It's just you told once that it took you 4 years to become not so much in the mind, but more in the hara. 4 years, and I'm just wondering, how did you experience that those 4 years? It's like it's with setbacks. I mean, can you talk about a bit about those 4 years? I'm curious about it.
Look, it was certainly a major change in my life because when I was younger, 98% of the time I spent in my head or my emotions or, sexual energy that was, uh, beyond manageable. That's where my whole life was. It was in all those tensions and all that, stress and all that anxiety inside that was creating, a person who was fairly neurotic and very unhappy. And through the discipline of this inner work that we do, through time and certainly through patience, it evolved to a point where, I really could keep the mind quiet. I could keep my heart open. I could feel, joy in my heart, something that was always hard for me to do when I was younger. I could feel a quiet mind. I was receiving energy from a higher nature, knowledge from a higher nature, and it transformed my life, completely transformed my life. I was capable of, in a much more conscious way, living in the world, of dealing with other people, of, not being, upset because other people were upset. All of this began to happen. And it took 4 years to relatively quiet the mind. I mean, the mind will always be a little active, but you got to realize, it's 45 years I've been living that way with a relatively quiet mind. 4 years is a very small investment. Time and energy. It seems like a lot of time, when that discipline of mind is not under control. But come out of 4 years and you manage to, get your mind quiet, get yourself centered, doing that kind of thing. I mean, it transforms your life, not only spiritually, but living practically every day, having a greater capacity to deal with the kind of craziness and tensions that are in this world. Change the way I, related to my family. Changed everything for me. And I don't even know exactly when it happened, but one day I was living a little bit differently than I was before. One day I had more security in myself than I had ever felt in my life. And I don't even know when exactly that transformation took place. It just took place. But it was a product of doing deep inner work over those years. And then 10 years later, through deep inner work, and 20 years, I mean, all of that got deeper, more profound. The Shakti drawn into my system, had more knowledge in it and wisdom and energy from literally the fountainhead of the source of energy. All of it just opened. And I think that this can happen for everybody. First thing is one needs to have a spiritual life. The need has to be there. The second thing, you got to do what you got to do inside yourself to have a spiritual life. Not what you want to do and what you think you want to do, but what you really have to do to get that. Then it begins to translate into the way you interact with your family, your friends, your, people you work with, and your ability to have a certain degree of prosperity in the world. It all is, energy. And when we master ourselves, then we master the way we spend that energy. I hope that's clear because it's an important element in this work. And you can't set a time and a date for this to happen. It just happens. It's like an organic outgrowth of the work a person does inside themselves. It's just one day these things just happen. And, I remember when these things started happening for me, I was like stunned. I couldn't believe it. A certain degree of maturity happened in myself, a different way of looking at human beings, a different way of interacting with people I had to interact with in my life. And also a lot of fear and a lot of insecurity just disappeared. Not completely, but enough to enable me to function here in a good way. And today, where there's very little of that, I can also a product of years of working on oneself. I'll give you an example. About 3 days ago, I went to some drawers that I have in a closet and in a chest, and I found this manuscript of poems I must have written 30 years ago. And I'm going, and I said, wow, these really have potential. But 30 years ago, they weren't, they were immature. They weren't finished. But years of training in myself enables me to see the potential of these things. And probably within the next year or so, I'll have another couple of books of poetry, But it's only through time that one can look back and see the immaturity of the way one lived 30, 40 years ago. And then one can transform that, One transforms it in himself, and then it manifests in the world. I forgot about these things. I was just going through this drawer and I found this huge manuscript, maybe 300 pages. I said, holy crap, I can't leave this unfinished. It's come back to me so I can make it into something publishable and good and refined and real. Does anyone have a question? Anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. It's so funny about that because when I looked at some of these poems, I said, these have enormous potential to be very nice little works of art. And what they showed me was that I wasn't ready to finish them 30 years ago. You know, I didn't have the maturity, the craft, the development in order to make them into something, you know, really kind of beautiful. But all the potential was there. It's an incredible way to look at your past and find things, you know, okay, I now have the maturity to learn how to love people in a deeper way, learn how to have patience with people in a deeper way, learn how to treat life differently. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, if there are no more questions, then there will be a class on Thursday. And as I end the class all the time, bless you all, thank you. I mean, your presence here to me is a very great miracle. And I'm very happy and thrilled that I can sit here and do this work with everybody, because it's truly teaching me about myself and about my life and how I have to grow in the present and, you know, and in the future. So God bless you all. Thank you. And we'll have a meditation on Thursday. I'm hoping that everyone attends. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. Good night, good day, good wherever you are.